What is up, you guys? I'm BJ Kicks. I buy comics, I read them, and I review them, all for your viewing pleasure. And this is the hangout. This is the last hangout of 2022. It's the live stream we do every week, every Thursday, about 7 p.m. Eastern. And I'm very excited to be here. So if you're watching this on the replay, thank you. I appreciate you watching on the replay. But if you're here in the chat, say what's up. My man Menterprises is here. Buckmaster B is here. What it do, comic babies? C Rook is here. Says my 2022 was filled with a surprising lack of reading until December. We got to talk a little bit more about that. And James is here with an open book and several closed books. I feel you. That's about like my reading pile right now. So a fun show planned for tonight. I am, what were we talking about? Dang, I lost my train of thought trying to read comments and talk at the same time. Go figure. But tonight I am kind of recapping my 2022. How did it go? How did I do with my reading goals? How did I do with my YouTube goals? And how was 2022 for you? So we're celebrating the end of this year and talking about some exciting things that are coming very, very soon. So that's what we got going on tonight. So while I got to give some shout outs to some people that make this content possible, I want you guys to let me know just overall, how would you sum up your year in comics in 2022? So while you guys do that, like I said, I got to give some shout outs. So the first thing I want to do is shout out to the channel family, the members of the community who have joined. They click that join button below this video on YouTube, and they are co-producers. They really help make content on this channel possible. So my man Kamar, my man Tayshawn, and then everyone who's actually listed in this picture. Thank you guys for being a valued member of the channel family and helping this channel stay alive. It's been a crazy year, and I couldn't have done it without you guys. And I also want to give a quick shout out to Organic Price Books, our official channel sponsor. Now, for those of you who are unaware, OPB during the big freeze last weekend had a pipe burst in their warehouse. Don't worry, your books are safe. They did lose a couple of cases of Ven Omnibus. I think about 400 copies of the Ven Omnibus they had to get replaced, so they've ordered those. But anyone who's placed an order from OPB, your stuff is safe. Those were extra copies that were going to be sold, so you're good there. But to sort of help with the costs, I mean, they are in need. I wouldn't say desperate need, but they're going to need your pre-orders to help float them through this whole precarious time, as it were. JP estimates there was about $75,000 worth of damage between the books, walls and cleanup in the facility and stuff like that. Of that 75,000, I think 50,000 were copies of the Ven Omnibus. So yeah, man. Anyway, so if you would like to help OPB get through this, setback in their business, just go to the website and shop like normal. And you can use my coupon code BJKicks to save $2 at checkout. Or if you're placing an order of 3 books or more, BJ Kicks Ship It Together will save you 5% on that entire package. So shout out to JP. Hold your head up, as they say. And the whole team over at Organic Price Books, David and David's family. Yeah, man. Yeah, that is a lot in losses. That's a lot in losses. And OPB had been having a banner year, like a great year before the setback. It's definitely not something you want to see that happens, right before Christmas, especially. Okay, there's a ghost in my house. Do you see my Roku just came on out of nowhere? The remote is over here. I didn't touch it. Crazy stuff. But yeah, so crazy. It's just a freak accident, right? But you never know. Interestingly enough, a church that I buy materials from in the Dallas area, which I believe JP's in that area, the DFW area, had a very similar thing happen. The last time there was a big ice storm, that Texas ice storm where Ted Cruz like left the building. Um, yeah, there was a big ice storm. Everything froze for a minute, and they also had a pipe burst, and a bunch of the books that they were selling, ironically, it was also books, got messed up. I remember that. That's crazy. It's been like a year and a half, 2 years now. My man Noah says I'm gonna be shopping very abnormally. Yo, first of all, the fact that we have my man Noah and my guy Day Day in the chat at the same time, this is a year-end celebration already. This is the special guest episode where the dude from the first season just walks in, everybody goes, woo! Like this is This is a reunion. Comics with Your Average Joe says, I've been excuse me. I've read 2 collected editions this year. Grant Morrison's Batman Volume 1 and Venom by Donny Cates. I gotta say, unpopular opinion, Donny Cates has the better run than Grant Morrison's Volume 1. Huh. That's an interesting take. I don't know how unpopular it is because I've never heard anybody compare those two runs specifically. I will say the Grant Morrison run is quite heady. I enjoy it a lot, but Donny Cates definitely comes out swinging in that Ven Omnibus. So I don't know. I've only read the first third to half of the Cates Ven Omnibus. It's definitely like it's a whole different tone, a whole different vibe. I can certainly understand a majority of people saying they like that more than Grant Morrison's Batman. I feel like Grant Morrison's Batman doesn't really pick up the real steam until the end, and it ends on like a really good high. Is how I feel about that one. Let's see. Noah Without Fear says, I have returned. And he says Day may be on the come up. Yo, so first of all, Noah, well, I guess the Noah Without Fear is something that you can like, it's better, it's more search engine friendly than Noahverse. Noahverse definitely got like buried in search results. But I'm just like, did you guys notice that Noah just like completely switched from Spider-Man to Daredevil? Like, is that cool? C. Rook says, interesting thing I've noticed about books, I think paperbacks can take more damage and recover easier. Noah says, Grant Morrison's Batman is good, but man, you got to be locked in when reading it. That's true. That's true. I read Grant Morrison's Batman back when I was working in a call center job during the pandemic. There was literally nothing to do except sit at my desk and read the book. And that, as a matter of fact, I think that's the last time I read an Omni that way. But I enjoyed it. You definitely do have to be locked in, though. Like, he likes to throw elements. They like to throw elements and just like confuse you for the sake of confusion, it seems. So yeah, Noah rebranded. I feel like that's like going from like, I don't know, being a Celtics fan to being a Lakers fan. Like, I feel like you can't just call that a rebrand, you know? Same. This is exactly why I love Grant Morrison's Batman. I enjoy Morrison's approach of looking at all of Batman history and trying to roll in and honor his entire history. Right. From bringing in Damian Wayne, who had really just kind of been a relic of an old Elseworlds story, to Batmite making a major appearance, the Batman of Zur-En-Arrh. Like, there's just so many different things that are made canon in the Grant Morrison run that just you didn't see him coming. And I don't think anyone else has like really done it since. A lot of people, what they do, like the big hallmark of Scott Snyder's run, the Court of Owls, is introducing this new element that feels like it was there the whole time. But Grant Morrison took elements that were literally there the whole time that nobody was thinking about and just used them and gave them such purpose. And I was like, that is dope. That's dope. BJ, what's your favorite Batman run? My favorite Batman run, and to be fair, I haven't gotten through Morrison's run, so it's not in the running. But I'd have to say Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale. or like being a Cavaliers fan, then a Heat fan, then a Cavaliers fan, then a Lakers fan. No, that's just being a LeBron fan. Kev says, "What's up, everybody? What's up, Kicks? Late to it? You're not late. You are right on time for our first segment of the day, which is, of course, recent pickups. It's time for me to show you some of the newest additions to the Comics Are Dope library, which is what I'm calling my collection these days. So, Christmas was pretty good to me. First of all, I had a great time with family. We were able to get our kids a bunch of things that they wanted. My daughter wanted a pair of Jordans, so I got her first pair of Jordans. It's not her first pair. She used to wear Jordans all the time as a baby and as a toddler, but now that she knows what sneakers are, to her, these are her first pair of Jordans. So I got her a pair. So that was cool. And Squeak is Squeak, so she gets whatever, kind of all the time because that's how babies are just demanding like that. But anyway, and then I got to, splurge on me a little bit. So first thing I did was day after Christmas. Day after Christmas, Barnes & Noble was having a half off hardcover sale. So I got two hardcovers for half off. First up was Batman Arkham Asylum, the deluxe edition. Interestingly enough, I did not own this story in hardcover. We were just talking about Grant Morrison. This is the book that it marks the first time Grant Morrison ever worked on Batman. It's also the book that made Grant Morrison an instant millionaire. If you've listened to his interview with Kevin Smith on the Fat Man on Batman podcast. But anyway, Arkham Asylum, the deluxe edition. This came out, was it earlier this year or maybe late last year? And I just never bought it because I had the trade paperback and I wasn't in a rush to spend $34.99. But at a half off sale, it was only like $17.50. So I went ahead and grabbed that. And this that Comics Are Dope describes as being the greatest Catwoman story of all time. This is Catwoman Lonely City, written and illustrated by Cliff Chang. And when I saw this on the shelf, I was like, oh, I was going to buy this anyway. Now I can just spend less on it. This was a $29.99 cover price. Got it for $15 at Barnes & Noble, so I'm a happy camper. I honestly wanted the direct market cover for this. I think the direct market has the better cover, but is it worth paying $15 more for it? No. All you're going to see is a spine on the shelf anyway, right? I started reading this on DC Infinite the other day, and I think it's going to end up being one of the best Catwoman stories of all time. So that's that. So that's what I got right after Christmas. But on Christmas Day, I was gifted a gift card to my LCS. And so with the gift card, I grabbed a couple of things that were just missing from the collection. First up was this one. This is Superman Birthright, the deluxe edition. This just came out 2-3 weeks ago. And if you follow the channel, you'll know that Superman Birthright is pretty significant to me, as it's the first time I read and actually appreciated Superman. There's even a review of that book on this channel. It was like one of my first retro reviews as well. So this book made me care about Superman if it didn't make me like him. But we'll talk more about Superman in a minute. So this written by Mark Waid. It's interesting how much Mark Waid has written that I just really, really like. So very cool. And then the last book that I grabbed, another hole in the collection, was this. This is the Usagi Yojimbo Saga Book 6. I feel like I should just use this space. This is, Usagi Yojimbo Book 6. I had been collecting all these paperbacks. Originally, I had a goal to just make custom hardcovers of these back when I sold my limited edition signed hardcover volume 1. And then I was like, I don't really need to make these hardcovers. It would cost me like $60 or $70 each to have these custom bound, but I still want to collect the story. So there's volume 6. I actually still need to grab volume 5. It's at Organic Price Books, so I'll probably place that with my next omnibus order sometime next month. And that's actually it. Those are all the recent pickups, recent additions to the collection. I think the one that I'm most excited about The one that I definitely want to read like ASAP is Catwoman Lonely City. I started reading issue 1, like I said, on the iPad the other day, and it's a really exciting book. Like I like it. I like it so far, but I'm only 1 issue in. So this is definitely getting read first. But Birthright, like I said, it being my first real Superman story, it just meant a lot. And then I don't remember if I showed you guys this or not. I think I might have canceled the stream the week that this came in. But this is Batman Curse of the White Knight, um, the deluxe edition. I just finally ordered this. I don't know when I'm going to read it. Um, I haven't even read the original White Knight, but I like Sean Murphy's Batman art. So I've been buying the White Knight stuff as the deluxe editions come out. So anyway, those are all the recent pickups. Saman says, cool. What's up, man? What's up? Ant just gonna vlog. So I've been interested in finding reads on Superman. I have to give Birthright a shot. Yeah, check out my review. I don't spoil anything. I've read more Superman of late. Not a ton of like classic stuff, but I've been reading Philip Kennedy Johnson's run of Action Comics, and I've also been reading Superman. Yeah, I kind of fell off of Bendis's stuff. And we've been in Son of Kal-El all year, so there really hasn't been a Superman title. So, but Joshua Williamson is writing Superman starting next month, brand new #1. So it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. Sigma Comics is here. What's up? Happy New Year to Sigma Comics. And my man HH German Calico. Here comes Calico #6. That actually came in the mail very recently. I posted about it because it was my favorite cover of the series. And then I put that book in a stack. Then I put that stack in a stack. And I have to go find it. Read White Knight first if you can. And once you read both, read Beyond the White Knight. All 3 read like movies with the Murphy art. And it's great. Word. Kev says, I've never read Usagi. Should I give it a shot? You know what? This is the part where I admit that I have not read a single page of Usagi Yojimbo. I take that back. I read a color version of Usagi Yojimbo on the iPad, and it was fine. Like, it was fine. The reason I started picking up these Usagi Yojimbo volumes was because my man Mitch at OmniBuddy spoke so highly of them. And yeah, so I did that. And then I grabbed that hardcover because I knew it was going to be limited. And I thought they were going to be reprinting all 9 volumes of Usagi, but they weren't. And then I was like, well, for the price that I could get for this 1 volume, I could buy the rest of the trade paperbacks and just do it that way. And so I bought like 3 or 4 of them. And then you guys know me. I'm a completist. If I buy more than 30% of something, I'm going to buy the rest of it. So I'm buying all of Usagi Yojimbo blind. And if I hate it, I'll just sell it to someone or give it away or whatever. But it's not my typical like superhero stuff. And it's in black and white, so it's not as fun for me to read. So I've been reading it digitally in color, which is like, okay, well, if you don't like it in black and white, why are you buying it? That's a fair question, I'd have to say, that I don't have the answer to. Let's see. Balga says, what's up, Balga? Hot take, I really enjoyed Batman Curse of the White Knight a little more than Batman White Knight. Curse of the White Knight was coming out as I started reading comics. And so I actually, fun fact, I have the first 3 or 4 issues of Curse of the White Knight. And I read issue 1 and then quickly realized that it was a sequel and I shouldn't have started with that. And so then I stopped reading it. And yeah, that's how that went. But I've got those somewhere in single issues, somewhere in a short box. Tayshawn says, when HBO Max first launched, they were supposed to do a movie or series of White Knight with Matt Damon, but it fell through. Closer to the Heat, Death of the Universe. What? Oh. Okay. Comics for the Average Joe says, if you didn't have this channel, would you still be a Wednesday warrior or just do omnibus editions? And will you still buy the collected edition of comics you already own as singles? So second part of that is yes, if the singles are good enough, right? I I definitely have double dipped. Like, I'm trying to remember. Oh yeah, this whole Hickman X-Men era, I've got all this stuff in single issues. And I also have it now in these collected editions, the oversized editions. There are some stories that just mean a lot to me, and I would like to have them in the best format possible. Just like my Christopher Priest Black Panther omnibus, I originally had that in trade paperbacks, and I still have it in trade paperbacks. And I probably won't sell my trade paperbacks even after volume 2 of the omnibus comes out. Because it was just a fun hunt for things. Another good example is all my milestone stuff. I've got every single milestone single issue, but then I've also got the collected editions over there on that shelf, and the compendiums are coming out. Volume 2 comes out in January, and I'm going to be buying that. The way I see it, like, if I really love a single issue, I don't want to mess it up by like opening it up a bunch of times. And so the collected edition allows me to like still live with the story and read it. But also the collected editions are just so much easier to say, like, hey, what's a good jumping in point for Batman or for Superman? Hey man, you can borrow this one. Here you go. I trust, friends and family with this way more than I trust them with like, a single issue series. So second part is, yeah, I still buy collected editions of some comics that I already own as singles. If I didn't have this channel, would I still be a Wednesday warrior? So that's part of like what we're talking about today, is just like how I felt like collecting went. I would definitely still read weekly comics. A big part of it. Oh, that's really cool. Give me a second. I got an announcement in the comments. But a big part of the comic book experience for me is going to the shop every week. I'm in my shop at least twice a week and have been for almost 4 years now. That's such an integral part of the experience. I don't think I would ever stop going to the shop every Wednesday. Even if I was buying collected editions, like, I'd probably find a way to just buy my trades every week in the store. But I like single issues. I like getting a little bit of story at a time. And we'll talk in a second about how like I recognize that reading single issues is a whole different thing from like reading collected editions. Like, it feels different. It's hard to describe, but we'll get into it as we get into it. So speaking of, let's get into some reviews. So reviews of the week. This is a section of the stream where I like to review a few or a couple of this week's comics. Really the one or two that I've read so far that came out yesterday, New Comic Book Day. Don't worry, there will be no spoilers in this section. So first book I read this week, I read Power Rangers, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and give me a second. I just realized my nose is running. That's nasty. All right, so yeah, Power Rangers, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Volume 2, Issue Number 1. This is not the cover A. This is the Torrin Clark variant. I ended up buying, I didn't even buy cover A. I bought the gatefold variant that just like was all the connecting covers put together. Anyway, this is my favorite cover. If you read the original Power Rangers Ninja Turtles series from back in 2019, then you, I think, will still love this. I mean, it's basically your childhood put together in one book, right? Like, I watched Ninja Turtles as a kid. I watched Power Rangers as a kid. This is your standard, typical team up book where the people with similar sensibilities match up with each other. And it plays out like it plays out. In the last series, we got a really cool moment with Shredder, In this series, it looks like we're going to get some cool moments with Bebop and Rocksteady. Um, but basically, there are people going missing. Someone becomes a Power Ranger in this issue that you might not expect. And I really can't say much more than that, except that this was a fun book. Um, Nothing groundbreaking, but like you weren't buying this expecting anything groundbreaking. You were buying it expecting it to be something fun. And that's what this was. So, really solid book, 7.5 out of 10 for me. I really love the art. Actually, you know what? It's an 8 because this art is amazing. It's Dan Mora drawing the Power Rangers and the Ninja Turtles. So, yeah. Another book, I can't really speak on this one. I haven't finished it yet. I got really annoyed because I opened this up. This is John Stewart, The Emerald Knight, #1. But I opened this up and I got really annoyed because DC is like printing some books on really cheap paper and then some books on good paper. So for this one, unfortunately, it got the cheap treatment. It's printed on like this sort of newsprint. The colors look washed out. And I was just mad because this book was $5.99 and it looked washed out. Like, I'm sure the experience will be better reading it digitally in a month on my unlimited app. But I'll finish that later on this week. And then the last book I want to talk about, if you've been watching the community tab, you may have seen my review of this. This is Action Comics issue 1050, written by Philip Kennedy Johnson, Tom Taylor, Joshua Williamson. They all teamed up to sort of tell stories about where the new era or next era of Superman is going to go in 2023. And I'm very excited about it. For the first time in a long time, it feels like the Superman office is all on one page. They're all excited about what's happening. It's not just one guy just being like, all right, you know what would be cool? Legion of Superheroes. Let's do it. No, it's like classic Superman stories. This had a really cool confrontation between Superman and Lex Luthor. I don't know if I want to spoil this, even though it was in the news like 2 weeks ago. So without spoiling how it happens, what I will say is that the secret identities come back in this issue. And the way they come back is really cool. And the fact that they are back to having secret identities, I think is going to make the story so much better in the future. All in all, this is your reboot point for Superman. If you wanted to get into Superman comics, read this, then grab Superman #1 next month and Action Comics 1051 next month. And then the Superman Adventures of Superman John Kent book by Tom Taylor. I think those are all, they're not necessarily telling the same story where you got to read one to read the others, but I think if you're a Superman fan, you'll enjoy them all for different reasons. And there's little previews of each of those books in this one. So very cool. I gave this an 8 out of 10. I really liked it. Only reason I didn't score higher is because it was really like a transition issue. It wasn't like, I don't know. And like Comics with Your Average Joe says, Action Comics is a soft reboot. I'm excited for the new books coming. Same. I picked up Green Lantern and haven't been reading the last Green Lantern run. Thought I was getting a fresh run, and I was so lost. It was frustrating. Yeah, the Jeff Thorne Green Lantern run is not. It's a run for like DC fans, and there's a lot of interplay with that whole intersection between the Guardians of Oa and the New Gods and like just phenomenal cosmic power, right? And there's also callbacks to Green Lantern Mosaic. This is I probably wouldn't say it's like a jumping in point. Like the way Green Lantern Rebirth was a great jumping in point for Hal Jordan, this does not feel like a great jumping in point for John Stewart in the same way. But if you're a John Stewart fan and you like know these little bits and pieces of John Stewart history, not this book, but the Green Lantern run that precedes it is great for that. That Green Lantern run really does feel like it kind of picked up a bunch of different threads and just said, all right, let's bring this to a new point. I feel like we got to see everybody that was in this book shine in a cool way. But there's also some stuff that just never really materialized, like Jessica Cruz being a Yellow Lantern. I liked I think what's funny is I like Joe Mullen's arc in this more than I like John Stewart's. But by the end of the run, the end of the 12 issues, I finally understood what was going on with John Stewart and I liked it more. But anyway, this is set 2 months after that the end of the Jeff Thorne run with issue 12. So haven't finished it, but I'm enjoying it so far. It's definitely a Green Lantern adventure, though. Rodimus Prime Rib is currently finishing the Kate's Van Omnibus. Wow, what a great story and art. I had never read this as I was waiting for the Omni. Oh, very cool. Yeah, like I said, I've only read like the first half of it. I enjoyed it a lot. And everybody says it doesn't lose steam that whole time. So Noah Without Fear says I can't decide which GL is my favorite. I love Hal and John for different reasons. So my favorite is John because I grew up on the Justice League cartoon, and it's really just that. I found an old video when I was getting into comics. I got into comics way more for the not way more for the commentary, but I got just as much as I got into comics, I got into like I was really into learning the history of comics, if that makes sense. So I dove just as deep as I dove into like individual books. I would dive into creator interviews and the history of this character, the history of that character. And I really just like John Stewart's backstory. There's a video, or it's really just audio, of Neil Adams explaining how he got John Stewart like to be John Stewart. Because they wanted to do a black guy and it was going to be a different name and all these different things. He was going to have a different job, a different demeanor. And Neil Adams, according to Neil Adams, right, is like, no, if we're going to do, a new black John or a black Green Lantern, we're going to do it like this. And we're going to give him this type of background and so on. And it was really through like hearing that story that really made me like appreciate John Stewart as a character. And then going back and watching the JLU animated series, it's like, yo, he's really dope. So now I've just been going back and trying to find as much as I can in comics of him. But yeah, there are like some specific personality traits that I just like about John Stewart. Like the fact that he doesn't care to wear a mask. It's like, okay, that's dope. Here we go. Here's the questions. Now that the year is over, do you regret not continuing your Claremont X-Men read through? Yeah, so let's talk about goals. Let's talk about reading goals. So when I started this year, I had two things I wanted to do. I wanted to read all of Claremont's X-Men, and I wanted to read more indies because most of what I had read going into 2022 was really just Batman and like typical superhero stuff. And so all in all, what did I end up reading of the Claremont run? Really just volume 1 and most of the Dark Phoenix saga in volume 2. So according to most people, I haven't even gotten to like the good stuff yet, right? Like what is it right after the Dark Phoenix? Age of Apocalypse. I haven't gotten to that. The Weapon X story, the whole, I don't know, a bunch of stuff that I haven't gotten to in the Claremont run. And I didn't read a ton of indies either. I did read Reckless toward the end of the year, like within the last month or so. And I read some Ninja Turtles. I read Excellence. I read Firepower. I read Bitterroot. I read Skyward. But I didn't read as much indies as I really wanted to. And I didn't read nearly as much X-Men as I wanted to. And do I regret it? Not necessarily, because I collected it all, so I can read it at any point. I regret setting such a lofty goal for myself. What I didn't realize was how dense the Claremont era is, even though it's good. Like, it just takes a long time to get through. And if I was going to have a goal to read the Claremont X-Men, I probably should have stopped buying single issues. That's what really took up most of my time. reading every single issue every week. I think it's like nearly impossible to read all these single issues and try to read a run that's as dense as Chris Claremont's X-Men. Like, you really need to read, or I needed to read something that was like a quick, like fast paced, get in, get out, like Reckless, like Skyward, like some of the stories that I ended up reading. So I don't regret it, but I do wish I'd made it through more of it. I fully expected to at least finish the 4 volumes of Uncanny X-Men omnibus. Um, but hey, it is what it is. It's still a goal that I have, though. Noah says history of creators is just as important as the history of the characters. It's crazy because I grew to love John through JLU, and I grew to love Hal because I started reading Green Lantern. Fair, fair. Why is Blood Syndicate and the Dakota verse not on the same Earth? I realized that on the back page of Dark Crisis Big Bang. I don't think that's true. If that's what it says, then I think that is a mistake on the part of Mark Waid. My Dark Crisis Big Bang is somewhere in this stack. So let's look at it. Because Blood Syndicate definitely takes place on the same Earth as, or in the same Dakota as the rest of the Milestone Returns titles. But there is Earth M, which I don't know if that got like retcon because I don't see anything with a Earth M here. And that's where like the series Duo takes place. Earth 93, Dakotaverse icon at #1 et al. So yeah, et al should include all the Milestone titles. And I don't see Blood Syndicate listed anywhere separately in this. By the way, this is a new guide to all the DC Earths that we've discovered so far since the Infinite Earths have come back. And here's an example of that lower quality paper stock I was telling you about. Everything just looks like somebody turned the saturation down in Photoshop. Like Spawn's trademark red cape looks a lot pinker on this. Same with Flash. Flash looks pink and not red to me. So yeah. Icon and Rocket show up in issue 1 of Blood Syndicate. It's the same Earth. True. What's your most anticipated Marvel Omnibus of 2023? So I'd have to look at my PRH pull list. The short answer though is I'm trying not to like. I think one thing that this year taught me was like I don't need everything. Like, I don't need to buy everything. And where before I was like, I'm new to comics and I want every great comic that anyone has ever recommended because I love this stuff and I want to see the best of it and I want to own the best of it. And what that led to was me blind buying a ton of stories. And then you start reading them and it's like, I get why people like this, but I don't necessarily like it. Like the Marvel Knights Punisher Omnibus. I started reading that last week. And I was like, you know what? 13-year-old me probably would have liked it. 32-year-old me, not so much. I'm very curious about Superior Spider-Man by Dan Slott. That's coming out next year, as is Cable and Deadpool. You said specifically Marvel. Can I filter this list at all? I can't filter the list. But yeah. I'm still on the hook for pretty much anything X-Men and pretty much anything Batman. So on the Marvel side, I'm actually looking forward to the most as it stands, Savage Avengers, the omnibus, because it's just an interesting looking run. And then Wolverine Volume 3, which is out in like 2 weeks. That's another one that I'm really curious about or excited for. So let's see. Wish they put the Earth that the Marvel and DC crossover took place. They did. They spoke about it in the book. Basically, they basically they didn't name the Earth, I don't think, but they definitely talked about an amalgamation of sorts. I wish I knew where they did that. Maybe I should do um a video on this issue, the Dark Crisis Big Bang and all the new Earths that were identified or hinted at. That'd be a cool video. Um but yeah, Super LFR says many modern comics sadly look better on the screen than on the page. Something to do with how many are made nowadays, I think. Yeah. Yeah. JC's here. What's up, man? Hello. Hope everyone had a Merry Christmas. Hope you did too, sir. Spider-Man 2099 too. I'm from Dade. Fun fact, I was born in Dade County. Never read there or lived there, but I was born there. I feel like reading more digitally has helped me cut down on buying omnis just because it was a new omni. Made me think about what I want to read versus what I want to own. Exactly. And so that was something that I didn't really have going for me until I bought this iPad. And now that I have the iPad, I'm like, okay, I can literally read everything whenever I want. So now it's like, okay, if I died and it was like, yo, Brandon's got the best comic collection, and somebody came to my house and was like, all right, cool, let's see what he had. Like, would I really want them stumbling on? I don't know. I'm just going to name something. The Planetary Omnibus, even if it's a great story, like, does it represent my taste as a reader? I don't know, because I never read it. Right? Like, I want my library to be like the best stuff I've ever read. And I want to be able to point to any book in my collection and be like, oh, this is the book where that happens. And that's a good reason to read it. Like, yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be so morbid. Like, you can come and look at my collection without me being dead. Right? But yeah. Like the Onslaught Omnibus. That is specifically me being like, I want to buy everything X-Men. And several people who love X-Men were like, yeah, that Onslaught Omnibus, not great. I could have just not bought it. But me and the FOMO, you know. Planetary is a love letter to comics history. As a fan, it's a must read. Just saying, add it to your 2023 list. Where that's a big book, but I'll try it. Yeah, 2022 in review. Did I do what I wanted to do as a reader? I can't really be mad at my reading. I stayed mostly on top of my single issue pull list. I dropped books as I wasn't enjoying them. Although I also bought a bunch of books just because they were tie-ins and stuff like that. But I'm happy with my reading journey. I do wish I had read a little bit more of the backstory stuff, like the collected editions, all the stuff that everybody says is great from yesteryear that I never got to because I didn't know it existed. In 2023, I don't have anything as epic as a massive Claremont read through planned. But I do just want to read more stories, read more books. I think, especially because I still read single issues, you can kind of get caught up in that weekly grind. Like, sometimes grabbing 7 to 10 books is just like, this is enough to read. This is a 30-page book a day. And, if all I have is time, if I was a college student, if I was working some entry-level job and I could just read comics all day, cool. But I'm realizing I'm not at that point anymore. I got a family, I got responsibilities. I might get 10 minutes to read comics every day. So how do I want to spend my 10 minutes? And so that's kind of the single issues versus collected editions conversation all over again. Um, and I haven't arrived at an answer to which I'd prefer. Um, because of all the stuff that I've read in singles from 2019 to now, there's honestly not a huge amount of the stuff that I would say is like essential reading. It's really not. But you don't really get that benefit. That's a hindsight benefit, you know? Like I can read Chip Zdarsky's Batman and tell you it's the best Batman that I've read in the last 3 years, and I really enjoy it. I don't know if it's all gonna get messed up at issue 7 though. You know, issue 131 might be the issue where he just jumps the shark completely. Um, and so part of enjoying comics to me is enjoying that weekly ride. You know what I'm saying? Um, and if I decide to wait for things to be collected, then really it feels like kind of letting other people's taste dictate what I read, right? Like I'm only going to read a story if somebody else deems it a classic and says you got to get this collected edition. And there's so many books that don't make it to getting like a collected edition, like a hardcover or something, right? So there's always going to be a mix for me. I agree with this, JC. A 30-page comic is just so easy to pick up and read in 15-minute spurts versus other hobbies that are more time consuming. Rodimus says, sounds same as you got a 2 and 4 year old, just read before going to bed. Exactly. Like a lot of times I'll wait till after bedtime and then that's when I'll sit up with my sack of single issues. The iPad helps a lot though, because now I can like read the iPad in bed. Tayshawn says, I'm slowly learning how to collect books like I learned to collect records. I don't need everything, just things that I truly like and enjoy. Reading digitally has helped with that also. Yeah, yeah. I was bad when I collected records, but you know, it's the same thing though. It's the same journey. I think when you collect anything, it kind of starts the same way. Like, I need everything. I gotta have it all. I gotta have it all now. And slowly you're like, wait, if I get everything, then I have to buy a bigger house. And it's not realistic to try to get everything. So what do I really, really want? What are the three things I keep revisiting? Right? For me, it's Batman. Like no matter how many different Batman stories I read, I always enjoy them. I always enjoy an aspect of them. Right. So okay, well, I'll keep buying Batman. Do I need Daredevil? No, I don't need to buy 8 volumes of Daredevil before I decide if I like Daredevil. And what I had to be okay with was if I miss out, that's cool. Like I can read Daredevil and like Daredevil without owning all of Daredevil by Brubaker, then Bendis, then Soul, then whoever, right? And it could be reverse ordered. But yeah, I want to make my own custom made slipcases so my singles can fit in them and I can display them on my shelf. For me, it's the art boxes. Art boxes I like because I can buy a themed art box that matches what the contents are, or at least coordinates with it. And I like looking at the boxes. The Red Hood's here. First time catching live. Greetings from Germany. Greetings, sir. Greetings. I don't know any German. I thought about that song from The Sound of Music, but I don't think first off, they're saying goodbye. So long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, goodbye. I don't even know what that word is. Auf Wiedersehen? And is it German? I don't know. They were in Austria, weren't they? Anyway, greetings, my friend. I'm so unwell with the flu. I'll just sit in the corner of the chat. Don't want to get anyone sick. Man, Zag, I hope you feel better soon. The flu is no joke. It's not fun. So, yeah, I hope you recover well. Drink a lot of water. I'm trying to drink water too. I really suck at drinking water. Like I suck at it. But yeah, lots of water. Vitamin C. Vitamin C is definitely helpful. That moment when you get a notification on your phone and you think it's important and it's just ESPN all the time. Auf Wiedersehen basically is goodbye in German. See, the Sound of Music taught me one thing, which is that water's just so boring. What keeps you motivated to continue the hobby? Um, yeah, so let's talk about, you know, the hobby. What I've realized in the last few years is like reading comics and talking about comics are different hobbies for me. They occupy different aspects of my brain. I keep coming back to comics for the same reason though. And the reason I read comics is because I like good art and I mainly read superhero comics, but even the stuff that's not superhero stuff, I read it because it's just a fun escape. Like real life is boring, dog. Like I go to work, I deal with people who don't love what they do, and so they take it out on people who at least mildly enjoy what they're doing in the moment. Um, you know, if you're doing a job well, that means you're solving problems for someone. But solving problems means you got to think hard about how to solve them, what the best solution is, and stuff like that. So my day job takes so much brain power that it feels good. Like just reading a good comic book just feels like an exhale. And for a few minutes a day, you can look at a cool book, look at some cool art, and just be like, oh snap, that was dope. I enjoyed that. And it doesn't really matter what genre you're into, doesn't matter what art style you're into, doesn't matter like what kind of stories you want to read. It's out there for everyone. And it's it's fun. It's fun. John Kent's getting electric powers. Like that's just a cool thing, you know, depending on how you feel about John Kent and electric powers. Um, the dawn of DC is coming, right? There's so many different things to be excited about in comics that, you know, again, for me, it's just fun. And that's the reason I keep coming back to it. Like the Nightwing run is really fun. I'm really enjoying Superman comics. Uh, at at worst, comics are a fun escape. At best, comics like make you feel more hopeful about like real life, which is interesting. Um, but I really, really enjoy art. And so that's why it like reading comics makes me feel like the kid sitting in front of TV with a big bowl of cereal watching Saturday cartoons, right? Like I spent so much time watching Cartoon Network and Power Rangers and Darkwing Duck and the Ninja Turtles and Batman and X-Men and Spider-Man as a kid. This feels like that, but it feels more sophisticated. And so that's why I love it. And along with that question, Joe says, with the commitment to growing your channel, does it ever feel like you're trapped to continue this hobby? I want to start a comic channel, but I don't want to feel trapped. Well, that brings me to like the other side of, you know, how 2022 went for me. So, well, let's talk about 2022 from a YouTuber perspective. I started this year like for whatever reason wanting to be like the biggest comic book YouTuber ever. And I say that I'm exaggerating. Like I say that in complete hyperbole, but I definitely went into this year with like a growth mindset. Like I was trying to apply all the stuff I know about marketing and the internet and growth, and I was just trying to take it from these other areas that I've applied it in the past and put it on this comic book channel. Like if I'm going to have a comic book channel, it's going to be the fastest growing. It's going to be the biggest and the best and blah 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 blah. Right? Well, comics um is different from the other stuff that I've talked about, whether it's music business or marketing or, you know, I don't know, Sally bakes cakes on Instagram, right? And with having a comic book YouTube channel, The things that really move the algorithm are like sensational things, right? The few people that you can name that have like massive channels, either like the super massive ones, they are teaching you about comics. They are that guy or girl or person that knows everything about every character, every story. They read every book. They know every nook and cranny. And they're the guy who could be like, well, actually, that one time, right? And so people look to those guys, especially now that comic book movies are a big thing. They look at those people and they're like, all right, let me learn from this person. And so that's how you get people like Comic Storian and Comics Explained with like millions of followers, right? And then you've got like this sort of second tier, the 50 to 150,000 follower people, right? And those people generally have a few things that are going for them. Either they are buying a ridiculous amount of things that make you want to live vicariously through them, which is the space I occupied for a second. They are like breaking news, or or even like the outrage based people who will like respond to any little piece of comic book news and be like, comics are dying. Or breaking news like, okay, here's what's coming out, here's who's going to be on this book, here's going to be on that one. That's the space I would put someone like Near Mint Condition. He does he does a lot of great reviews and overviews, but he also does these exclusive Marvel announcements. So if you want to know what books are coming out on the collected editions front from Marvel, you better be following Omar. And he's at like 70,000 or so. Um, you got, people like Jim Mint, who, like I said, they're buying things that like no one else has access to. Like if you want to see a new statue, you're not going to go find one in person at the store. So you watch his channel, and some other stuff. And then there's the guys that are like, the speculators that are like, all right, here's how you can make money with comics. And I don't really occupy any of those spaces comfortably, right? Like the space that I feel most attached to is like the educational space, right? That's why I've done videos like where to buy comic books or what are the best digital apps and stuff like that. What's good, Ryan? Happy New Year, sir. Um, but the sweet spot that I'm looking for is somewhere in between um education and just fun with comics, right? And the part you talked about being trapped, right? Being trapped into making a certain type of content. The part that makes you trapped is when you're going after growth, right? And you're not making content for the sake of the content, right? Like when I was focused on growing my YouTube channel by a certain percentage, then what I would do is I do the big omnibus haul videos. I would do that was really all it was. It was unboxings and hauls. And I made a conscious decision like as of July, like, all right, we're not doing that anymore. And the channel's kind of been I wouldn't say floundering. We're still growing. We're growing at a lesser rate, but um I feel like we've sort of been in a bit of an identity crisis ever since. And there's an announcement coming tomorrow that is going to sort of shift this identity into a new place. But where I want to be as a content creator is one, not relying on comics for growth, right? Like I want to grow. I mean, if you're not growing, you're dead, right? Anybody who's got a YouTube channel, no one's going to be like, I don't want more subscribers. No one's going to be like, I don't want more views and, whatever comes along with it. But I came into 2022, I had just signed or I just renewed my first long-term sponsorship. So I had a sponsor um, that was paying, advertising dollars every month. And that was going into some of these hauls. That's why I was able to buy so much stuff. And I was trying to keep that going. And there's a certain amount of pressure that comes with these people just wrote me a check and they're expecting a certain amount of views to justify the check they just wrote me. And so it was the trying for growth while trying to increase revenue and all these different things. All of that I felt like kind of had me feeling like a caricature. Had me feeling like, all right, this is like a part of what I'm doing, but this isn't really who I want to be. And luckily, it sort of all came crashing down at one time. Um, I just happened to have started a new day job around the same time as some of those partnerships were winding down. And I just had way less time to put into this channel. And so, you know, I was able to sort of make a soft pivot, what felt like quietly, um, and just without making any major announcements, just take some time, take a bit of a step back and just get back to enjoying the hobby. So I started reading more. I was reading more digitally and, so on and so forth. And what I'm going to announce tomorrow is that the video that comes out tomorrow will be the last video under the BJ Kicks name. Um, Channel's not going anywhere. To the 30 people watching, don't worry. I'll be here, but I'm gonna rename the channel. I think I've taken this channel as far as I can take it on my good looks, right? Um, with a channel being what I feel like this channel relies so much on my personality. And while I don't want to take my personality out of the channel, I want the channel to be more about comics than about me. And so renaming the channel, I think, is just a step in the right direction to being the type of channel that I want this to be. So, yeah, there's a video coming out tomorrow. It'll be the last video that I make as BJ Kicks. And yeah, it'll be the end of an era. It'll be the end of an era. And then, with the new year, we'll start new things. And my best Scar voice will enter the dawn of a new era, right? Where Lion and Hyena can work together. Those are all the things that'll happen. I'm excited about the change. I'm a tad bit nervous about the change. Um, because somebody is not going to watch the video tomorrow. Somebody is going to search for BJ Kicks on their timeline and not find it and think I just disappeared off the face of the earth and move on to bigger and greener pastures, I guess. But I think it's a necessary change. I'm excited for what the channel will become. So I'm basically going to try to do more reviews. Like I said, I actually wrote out a map of what I want this new brand to be, but then I erased it because my daughter needed something to write on. Did I take a picture of it? Maybe I took a picture of it. What is this? I keep getting messages from realtors, and I'm like, I didn't sign up for this realtor's email address. Anyway, let me look and see if I got this image. To answer, I don't remember whose question this was, but to answer your question, I think you're only trapped in as much as you put yourself in a box, you know? Like, you're only trapped in as much as you decide that you can only be one thing, right? If you have a comic book channel, there are plenty of people who have comic book channels and don't buy single issues every week. Omar being one of them. I didn't take a picture before I deleted or before I erased my whiteboard, but I'll just tell you, you guys have been here over an hour. You're the day ones. You're the diehard fans, friends, family, supporters. So moving forward, moving as of January 1st, the channel will just be called Comics Are Dope. And the Comics Are Dope brand, shout out to you, Rupert. The Comics Are Dope brand will have three sort of prongs, right? There's what we do on YouTube, which Well, yeah, there's what we do on YouTube. There's going to be a podcast, and there's going to be the blog. So when I wrote out like the sort of tree, the tree, I was like, all right, um, the comics are dope brand. If there's going to be three different sort of faces, then there's going to be three different things. I want, like, no matter how you find out about us as a brand, I guess, to be able to discover something really cool, right? So comics are dope started with the website last year, and I completely, like, you know, fumbled the bag on that website. I bit off too much too soon, more than I could chew. I think I'm in a better position in 2023 to really run it a little bit better. But comics are dope. The website, it's a blog where you will find thoughtful analysis and reviews of comics, right? Stories like Bunkmaster B's Is Catwoman Lonely City the best Catwoman story ever? Um, Stuff like my Miles Morales is Marvel's Black Friend. Like, that's the type of stuff you're going to find on the website. It's not so much going to be like, hey, here's what book is coming out this week. It's just great essays about great comics, or at least comic adjacent topics, without diving too much into like the movies and the other news and stuff like that, right? So that's that part. And then the podcast. The podcast will be thoughtful conversation about comics. And on the podcast, my hope is to have creator interviews. I'll do like team up episodes with people from the comics community. But the way I think is that I think the podcast, or the way I view the podcast, is like its own series of comics. Like, in my mind, each episode of the podcast is an issue, and each issue can be someone's first, right? So if you wanted a you got censored for abbreviations, I don't know. It wasn't me. I don't know what happened, Super Laugh Hard. But you know, on the podcast, I might just talk about how Quantum and Woody is just a great, humor comic, or why Christopher Priest is one of the greatest writers of all time, or why the Dakota verse was so successful until it wasn't. Like, things that probably could be an article on a website, but you'd enjoy it more as an audio experience, right? And then interviews, right? The interviews, what I don't want to do is get into like this trap where it's like I'm just talking to people about the book coming out this week, right? Um, that's what the the podcast is for. So I'm trying to remember what I wrote on my board, but I remember now. So the blog was timely, thoughtful content, timely, thoughtful reviews. Timely meaning whatever I'm talking about on the blog is probably relevant to something that just happened in the news, and that's why you're searching for it, and that's why you found it, right? Versus timeless, which is you could just stumble upon this as a time capsule and be like, wow, this was really good. So the two parts of it that are going to be timely will be the YouTube channel and the blog. And the parts that'll be timeless will be the podcast. Oh, excuse me, not the blog. The YouTube channel and the newsletter. That's the fourth prong that I didn't announce yet. So in January, I'll be getting back to doing my weekly newsletter called This Week in Comics. And that is the newsletter where in your inbox every Thursday, I think I've decided Thursday is going to be the day. I'm going to send you a few articles that you should read about comic stuff going on. I will send you my recommendations for New Comic Book Day and the upcoming final order cutoff. So if you didn't grab those books this week, you should go to your store and grab them. They're out now and they're good, right? And so 4-part strategy for Comics Are Dope. The YouTube channel, which should just be timely, fun content, right? Like, if you find me from YouTube, I just want it to be because you are just having the most fun with comics, right? We're not talking about news to like, you know, bring you down or make you feel bad about comics or whatever. It's just supposed to be the most fun you could have with comics. And so there's still gonna be I don't know, I don't think I'm ever going back to like just straight up unboxings, but there will be overviews of new books coming out. There will be reviews and stuff. There will also be um news in a sense, right? Like maybe this book's coming out. Here's the books coming out this week. I'm going to do the pull list every week still. Um I'm going to do what else am I going to do on the channel? I'm thinking of breaking down the monthly previews every month. I guess I didn't have to say every month if I already said monthly. But in the previews catalog each month, there are going to be books that stick out to me. And maybe I'll do like a top 10 from the January previews catalog every month. Stuff like that. So stuff that people are going to come back because it's recurring content. And then like I said, overviews and stuff like that. So timely stuff. Oh, and then I'm going to get back to the education. So the Who's Who series, I've got like a full slate. I know all of the people who are going to be featured on Who's Who next year, and some of them that aren't. um, but yeah, so like you'll get your who is Spawn, you'll get who is Storm, who is Naomi, and who is Daredevil, and stuff like that, right? And I'm going to try to plan those around different movies and different things, like, you know, try to get these things out when people are looking for them and not just randomly throwing them out there. But yeah, that's the plan for the channel. That's the plan for Comics Are Dope. So the YouTube channel where you get fun, timely, educational content. The podcast where you get timeless, thoughtful audio experiences, whether it's a conversation between me and someone in the community, it's a solo breakdown of an interesting concept, or it's an interview with a creator. So YouTube channel, podcast, the newsletter for the most up to the date or up to date. Oh, I was right. No, up to the date, up to the minute sort of, hey, here's what's happening in comics. Here's what books are coming out. Here's what you need to pre-order before it goes out of print, blah, 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 blah. You'll get that in the newsletter. And then what was the fourth thing? The blog. The blog is where myself, people like Bunkmaster B, will still continue to do their essays. And those essays will generally be driven by something going on in the community, whether it's the release of an omnibus or a hardcover or something like that. So, yeah. Rupert says, maybe I missed it. Are you going to showcase indie comics and creators? So on the YouTube channel, or personally, I want to read more indies in 2022. And to someone's point, I don't remember who it was. I think it was Ryan who made the point that, you know, your personality is going to be in it no matter what. Yeah. Yeah. So indies are going to make it onto the channel because I'm going to be reading indies. And as far as creators, like what types of creators, it's just whoever picks up my phone calls, you know. There's only 2 comic creators that I've spoken to who are like, yeah, I'm down to do an interview. One of which has already done their interview. That was Dennis Cowan. It's on the Hangout. So in order for interviews to happen, I've got to be proactive about reaching out to creators. And I don't know how much time I'll have to do that, especially because most people who want to be interviewed don't want to be interviewed for like the sort of timeless format that I'm talking about. Most people who want to be interviewed, they're seeking interviews to promote something. So, you know, Chip Zdarsky's Daredevil is finally getting an omnibus. He wants that to have a really good sales week. He's going to do an interview circuit, right? And so that can sort of conflict with how I'm trying to run the podcast. Because again, on the podcast, I want it to be a timeless conversation. Even if you do plug your stuff at the end, I want to have a conversation, not just, hey, here's me talking to Dennis Cowan about what he's doing this week. I want to have a conversation with Dennis Cowan about draftsmanship and what makes a great panel, right? Like, and then maybe some aspiring artist listens to that episode and discovers the podcast, and there's all these different other deep dives. Like, that is sort of my high level goal with the podcast, but that's for some time down the road as things get fleshed out. And all of these things won't be starting at the same time. As it were, the rebrand is really going to mainly be the YouTube channel and newsletter to start. So those are the two things I'm going to like earnestly be creating content for to start. I want to roll out the podcast in January, but I don't know if it'll roll out in January, but it'll roll out. It'll roll out soon. So yeah. The short answer is yes, though, because most often the people who would like to be interviewed will be indie comics creators. The other thing, though, the other part of that is with the YouTube channel focusing more on timely content, if I wanted to do an interview of someone who's got a book coming out, for example, Sigma Comics and Here Comes Calico, I can still do that on the YouTube channel. I can do that on the Hangout because the Hangout's not going anywhere. We're still here every Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern. So I can work that in there, but I want the podcast to be something a little bit different. Like, the podcast is kind of like audio essays, but not just with one person talking all the time, if that makes sense. So speaking of, I probably missed the comment, but Sigma Comics posted here that they're going to be going through Diamond Comics distributors starting. I don't know if I saw when they're starting that. Here we go. Starting in March 2023 previews, you can order Here Comes Calico through your comic shop instead of just having to go on their website and order or back a Kickstarter. And they're going to restart it with issue 1. So that's really, really exciting. So I've been reading Here Comes Calico because they've been sending me copies of the issues for the last year. But now you'll be able to read Here Comes Calico and order it straight through your LCS or even like online websites like Things from Another World. So that'll be cool. Issue 1 is really good. I think my favorite issue so far is probably issue 1, but I also enjoyed issue 5. Can't remember if issue 5 was the one with the Jiggler or not, but yeah. So that's exciting. That's really big news. Mark Alon says, "Oh snap, you got Dennis Cowan." Not on the podcast. Dennis Cowan popped into the Hangout, the live stream. Last year? Was it last year? It's been a minute. We were talking about the Milestone Returns titles. I think that was like last November. But yeah. Super Laugh Hard says, "For extra revenue, you can live stream the podcast on Twitch and then edit it for the podcast." Honestly, man, that's one thing I'm leaving in 2022 is like any sort of revenue goal for the Comics Are Dope brand. The way I see it is that me renaming the channel is like a sort of a death of one channel and a rebirth of another. And so I'm looking at Comics Are Dope as a brand new brand. And so I don't have any like revenue expectations. And honestly, I feel like revenue expectations are just, there's not a ton of money to go around in comic book media. Just to give you a look behind the curtain, like, I'm lucky if I make $100 a month in ads on this thing. So I think putting a revenue goal on this makes it more stressful than it needs to be. In reality, this is a fun hobby that at times pays for itself and has the potential to be something more if I put more effort into it. And so 2023 is about me putting that effort into it. And, I can control the inputs. I can't control what comes out of it. What I do know is that if I keep making quality content, you guys will continue to watch it. And that's really it. the truth is, I would make this content if only 100 people were watching, you know? And so I just got to be able to live with my inputs, you know? Am I satisfied with the video that I made? Cool. And I enjoy the ride, right? Like I spoke to Dennis Cowan. He joined multiple live streams that I've been a part of, right? Like that's kind of crazy. Dennis popped into the hangout this year. We talked about it at GalaxyCon a few weeks ago. That's cool. That's crazy. Dennis Cowan popped into my live stream. Bunkmaster B wore a Comics Are Dope shirt to GalaxyCon and talked to Dennis Cowan about being in my live stream, right? Dennis Cowan did an interview with this dude out of London, and somehow my name comes up and he goes, BJ Kicks, that's a good brother, right? These are things that like I didn't anticipate happening when I was like, you know what, let's talk about comics. I'm tired of talking about other stuff on the internet. And it's those types of things that I'm really appreciative of. And I think when I try to make this channel about sort of traditional revenue goals, the channel didn't suffer. I mean, you know, the channel grew, if I'm being honest, because you know, I knew what to do to make it grow and I was good at it, but I didn't like who I was in that process. So for me, I just want to bring value to the community. I want independent creators or really any comic creator to be able to get their books in more people's hands. I want fans who have similar interests to me or maybe even have similar backgrounds to me. I want them to discover great comics through me, right? I want them to feel like they've got a place. Because when the loudest voices online are those that are like spreading hate and crazy stuff like that, like it's just a bad day. So if we can do stuff that, you know, isn't a counteract to, you know, some of the craziness online, but it's just us existing as us, you know, I think good things can happen from that. And whatever happens from that, I'm happy with, right? There are almost 7,000 people subscribed to this YouTube channel. That's crazy. Water check. Thanks. I hate drinking water. You know what? I got this timer on my desk. I probably should like make that the water timer. Let's do it. All right. In 4 minutes, I got to drink more water. But yeah, man. Are you hoping to attend events and may have commentary on those? Yes. What I would love for Comics Are Dope to be is like a media outlet, sort of in the same vein as like AIPT, Adventures in Poor Taste. I don't necessarily want to be a comic book news medium, but like if I do a review, I think it'd be the coolest thing to have a quote from comicsaredope.com on the back of or on the front of a collected edition, right? Like, you know, comicbook.com's got a quote on Catwoman Lonely City. What if instead of that being comicbook.com, what if that was Bunkmaster B saying this was the best Catwoman story of all time? That would be cool. And that just means that our sort of, I don't know, our reach is helping people find good stories. And that's really the only reason to try to grow reach to me, right? Of course, there's revenue goals associated with that. And there's this idea that you can do this full time and nothing else. But, you know, I don't know, man. I don't know. That I'm no longer letting that be like the primary driver of me like running myself into ground making content. I just want to make good content. And whatever happens after that is what happens. I started drinking liquid death water to deal with my lack of drinking regular water, and it's helped. What does that mean? Liquid death water. That sounds crazy. Liquid death, mountain water. Murder your thirst. Okay, the can looks like a Michelob. About. Why is there a tab on this website that says sell your soul? What the heck? We're just a funny water company who hates corporate marketing as much as you do. Our evil mission is to make people laugh and get more than to drink water more often, all while helping to kill plastic pollution. Okay, so there's nothing special about their water. It's just water. Why did it help so much? Well, okay, some of these have flavors. Mango chainsaw sounds cool. Cliff Chang retweeted my article ahead of FOC on issue 4. Polo quote is up next for a CAD article goal. Yeah, man. Like, let's like growth is important to me again, as in as much as the more we grow, the more we can amplify great stories. Um, so yeah, all those cool goals. Let's see. I think it's healthy to not set a revenue goal, like you said, because it will add stress. But the more work you put in, the more popularity and opportunities you will have, not just yourself, but your brand. Yeah, yeah. Um, I'm not at all saying that I don't have any aspirations for the brand, right? Like that's kind of antithetical to any brand ever, right? Even nonprofit organizations are looking to make a profit so they can have more impact, right? Um, but I mean, it's a labor of love, but it is a labor, and for most labor, people do expect some sort of a reward at some point. I'm just saying that that's not on my radar for this year. But I would love to be able to go to cons and host panels and do stuff like that. I really would love to host a milestone panel. It's not going to happen next year, but yeah. Are we still going to make trips to Ollie's? We could do that. Yeah, man. Honestly, the content on this channel isn't going to be changing up all that much. Oh, my timer just went off for the water. Um, but start again. But I don't remember what I was saying. Uh, yeah. So I mean, I definitely I have all those different goals down the road. Um, but they're not the only goals I have. If I was like 19 starting this brand, then I'd be like, go hard or go home. Let's get to 1 million subscribers tomorrow. But the way this stuff works, like in order to do that, you got to do stuff that I'm not really comfortable doing, right? A lot of giveaways, a lot of gimmicks, a lot of being a caricature, a lot of stealing other people's ideas and trying to take it further quicker. Like, just a lot. There's a lot that's got to happen. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just not trying to do that. What I will say about the dudes that do content full time, they all look so tired. Like the work life balance doesn't exist because they've always got to be ready for surprises. Yeah, yeah, that is absolute facts. Like, I don't make content full time, but to to get to a point where you're making content full time, you've got to basically make content full time while you're also doing something else full time. There's no such thing as part time. Like every waking moment, you are thinking about content and goals and so on. And the grind is exciting, but the grind is still a grind, and it does wear on you, whether you're willing to admit it or not. And a lot of the people who, with the exception of Omar, I mean, and I've met Omar. We've got to hang out, and I mean, we've talked about like different stressors and things that are like it's difficult to unplug. I think that everybody has that in common. But a lot of these other guys, man, they look burnt out, like you said. Like it's difficult. It's difficult until it's like a multi, $100,000 operation and you can hire a team and all this stuff, but there's like no money and then there's decent money. There's never like I'm good money, you know? So it's interesting. This sounds amazing, but I have to ask with all these goals, what will be your moment in the future, whether it's hosting a milestone panel or anything that would be like, I made it? Yeah, if I hosted a milestone panel, like that would be the I made it moment for me. Um, Other than that, my far off goal is not even like a specific revenue goal. If I can wake up, talk about comics for a little bit, take my kid to school, and that's my day, like that's a great life. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I don't know where the revenue portion comes in. Maybe I do well in other aspects of business. Maybe I should become like a real estate investor, um, some other sort of passive income stream. Passive. There's no such thing as passive income. It's all work related. But, if I could do that and like just be a dad and a YouTuber, um, and a husband, of course, that's an ideal life. There's not a specific dollar amount on that. I mean, I know how much I make in my regular job. I know how much it would take to replace that. I know how much it would take for me to comfortably leave my regular day job. So I guess there is a number on all that. But for me, the ideal is not necessarily about a number because it could just be downsize, buy less things, and you could have that same life. But for me, it's so much more about just what I want to be doing with my time. So yeah. Let's see. I used to earn a living as an editor. A good edit takes longer than many presume. That's why I respect anyone with a good live flow and presence. Yeah, editing takes time. But I kind of suck at being live. I go off on tangents. I get distracted. I think I have ADD, but I kind of refuse to go to a doctor and be diagnosed because I don't know. I feel like I'm living well enough without a diagnosis, right? Um, and all these things contribute to live streaming not being my forte, but I enjoy hanging out with the community, so I keep doing them. Like this is my time where I get to interact with you instead of just saying, "Hey, I made a thing, please watch it." you know. So yeah, man. We're coming up on an hour, or we are. We've passed an hour and a half. Um, you don't need to go to a doctor to admit you have ADD. I don't know, man. I feel like it's rude to like self-diagnose yourself with things because what if you don't have ADD and like that's making light of it for someone who does have ADD, right? Like when people say they have OCD when they really just want one thing to be clean and it's not really like compulsive or obsessive at all. Like, I don't know. I imagine people like in the OCD community may be offended by that, right? So I don't know. But I can't lie. Like you come across like these TikToks and stuff, like of people who are like, I didn't know I had ADD until my doctor said this. And I was like, oh snap, that applies to me. Maybe I should go to a doctor. Some may say comics can be a hyperfixation. Zag, you had a different question. Are you thinking of expanding your team for comics are dope? Saying as a past article writer here and there, some extra arty content would be cool. Um, I'm honestly fine expanding the team. My issue with comics are dope is that there's pretty much no uh there's no there's no money. There's no money. So I'm wary about like adding people to the team because most people would expect something in return. I don't have anything to offer. So as it stands, those who write articles at comics are dope. Um, you're not writing it for comics are dope. You're writing it for yourself. You are licensing that art or that article to comics are dope to publish on their platform or our platform. But you're also free to take those words and put them up on your own blog. Or if you get a job for CBR or Bleeding Cool or whatever, you can post them there. Um, and then you also get whatever benefits you can squeeze out of, you know, being affiliated with comics are dope. So as we grow, um, you might be able to get like a press pass to a con or something like that. Um, And so whatever benefits I could offer you, I offer those, but I can't like pay you for an article. So that's the sucky part. And that's why I don't like invite people to contribute. But I do have a guest contribution form. So if you go to bjkicks.link/dope writers, if you have an idea for something that you would want to put on the site, like just fill out that form, and I'll get back to you if your pitch is accepted. And yeah, I don't think of it in terms of money for something like that, as I see it would be helping everyone out and making cool things. So yeah, the short answer is anyone is free to contribute to comicsaredope.com. It's not quite like user generated like the Huffington Post. Like I'm technically the editor. But yeah. I have really bad ADHD that makes it hard to do certain things, but to be honest, I don't care if people say they have ADD, etc., as long as they don't act like it's a crippling effect on them. Word. My wife got diagnosed this year. She's 38, and it really helped her get a better balance on just being able to get through things she didn't know was a part of it. If I'm completely honest, that's the part that scares me. Like, I wonder how much I've been like just functioning, and like if it's like, well, you actually do this because of that. Like, I don't know. On one hand, it could be helpful. On the other hand, maybe ignorance is bliss. I don't know. I don't know. Didn't mean to get to quarter life crisis territory here. But yeah, so 2022, a year in review. I enjoy comics as much as I've always enjoyed comics, maybe even a little bit more. I came pretty close to quitting YouTube before deciding, actually, I just want to go in a different direction. My bad, Joe. My bad, Joe. I'm so sorry. Near Mint Collections is my go-to for Marvel collected editions. Who can you recommend that does the same thing for DC? No one. DC doesn't have any relationships with anyone. DC doesn't really like. Omar used to have a contact at DC. They got laid off earlier this year. Yeah, the short answer is there's no one on the DC side making these announcements. Those of us who find the news about DC stuff do it just by monitoring solicits. So Omar is honestly still the best person because Omar will do like a collected edition. He does a DC solicitation video every month. Problem is just that DC doesn't solicit a whole lot of stuff. So yeah, but Marvel gets the fancy announcements, but DC does get videos on Omar's channel. So I would say just keep watching those. But yeah, came very close to like stopping YouTube, but I didn't do that. I definitely felt directionless a little bit. Wait. Was it just me or did DC drop the ball with their comics being released this Wednesday? Batman 131 and Dark Knights of Steel 9 were total surprises to me this week, and I'm always very prepared. Yeah, Dark Knights of Steel didn't show up on League of Comic Geeks, so I didn't know it was coming out until I got to the shop and it was on my pull list. But I don't think Batman 131 is out yet, because that would have been in my box, but it wasn't in my box. Let's see what's coming out January 3rd. I think Batman 131 is next week. Yeah. Batman 131 comes out next Tuesday, January 3rd. Your shop was already giving it out? Don't spoil it. It is. That's crazy. You picked up Batman today. What? That's wild. So Lunar Distribution officially has the date on Batman 131 as January 3rd. I don't know how it ended up in stores and on shelves this week. That is not the date that it was supposed to be on shelves. But how is it? Don't spoil it. Now I'm mad. Anyway, today's Thursday. I'll have a copy by Tuesday. 1 in 100 picked up Batman 131 on Tuesday. Huh. Maybe it was like a last minute pushback. It must have been. Like maybe it was slated to come out this week and they were like, oh, let's move it because it's too close to Christmas and forgot to tell the shops. Would be the first time. It's supposed to have come out next week. One of my shops had it, the other shop didn't. It is supposed to come out in January though. John is in NYC. Word. NYC, the city where I learned that comics existed. But yeah, man. So 2022. I read a lot of books. I still enjoy reading books. As far as goals for 2023, Hickory, North Carolina? That's crazy, man. That's like an hour from me. 828. What's up? But goals for next year. In 2023, I just want to continue enjoying comics. I want to get better at educating other people about comics. I've gotten to the point where, this year or this coming up Free Comic Book Day, where by the way, they're finally going to reveal what Hickman has been doing for Marvel since he left the X-Men office. That's coming up in the new Avengers vs. X-Men Free Comic Book Day issue in May, first Saturday in May. But anyway, this Free Comic Book Day will be 4 years since I started reading comics. And I finally feel a bit like an elder statesman. Like there is so much stuff that I have never read, but there's also a lot that I've seen happen and kind of cycle in and out in comics. And so I feel like I've got this weird, middle child perspective. And so there are things I think can be taught a little bit better. But I'm not like in a space where I feel like I'm not teachable still. So I'm excited about the type of content that comes from that, like me teaching as I learn, me diving deep and learning about new characters and new stories and stuff. But I say all that to say, I've seen enough cyclical trends in superhero comics to want to read more indie stuff. So there's more Ed Brubaker stuff coming out next year. I probably won't be picking up a ton of indie single issues still, but Image collected editions, Image trade paperbacks, only $9.99. So if I pre-order those, it's like $7 for 5 issues of story. Like that's a great deal. You know what I'm saying? So I plan on branching out a bit more. Because every time I branch out, I'm never disappointed to have done so. I loved Skyward. I've loved the Reckless stuff that I've read so far. I love Ninja Turtles. I started reading Power Rangers a couple weeks ago. I really like that. So I'm trying to get not so much out of superheroes because I always love superheroes, and that's why I like it so much, or why I like comics is because I like superheroes. But I want to branch out into other types of stories and stuff too. I am so close to falling off the Marvel train, Joe. Who do you think will take over Avengers after Aaron? I'm hoping Donnie Cates after he just bailed on his Thor and Hulk. I'm kind of nervous. Donnie is my favorite writer for Today Writers. I don't follow a ton of Marvel stuff. I don't even know who would be like up for the job. With Marvel, it's just like there's so many events, and I get mad. Like we just finished. What event did we just finish? I don't remember. AXE, and now we're in Dark Web. Daredevil's due for another event. Devil's Reign ended 6 issues ago. Daredevil and Punisher are gonna fight next issue. So yeah, man. I don't know, man. There's just so I'm excited about DC. I've actually got a video that I'm working on called My Most Anticipated Books 2023. But I'm excited about the State of Superman books as previewed in this Action Comics 1050 issue. Really like that. And I'm excited for the dawn of the DCU. We finally got out of Dark Crisis and out of like this perpetual event that we've been in since Death Metal. What's up, Tyler? Hello. got out of this perpetual event that we've been in, and I think 2023 DC is going to be focused a lot more on sort of just laying groundwork with really good stories. I'm sure there will be a summer event, but we get a whole couple of seasons without an event. So I'm excited about that. Marvel, man, I don't know, man. I'm not crazy excited about a bunch of events. I'm ready for John Ridley's Black Panther to end. I can't even say I'm anticipating the run after that, but we'll see when announcements get made. I'm enjoying Daredevil. I would like to enjoy uh more Marvel. I've never read Jason Aaron's Avengers, but yeah. Avengers is always the popular writers. We had Hickman, then Aaron. I think Donnie has the best sales and events. Seems to be him if they continue that road. Word. Zag is excited for the summer of symbiotes. Oh, the death of the symbiotes after all. It's coming. I did see that in the previous catalog. But yeah, I'm excited about DC. I'm not crazy excited about Marvel. Marvel has a lot of merch deals with people, so that's why I have so many Marvel clothes. But I'm definitely more of a DC fan. I am excited about um, the new milestone stuff that's on the horizon starting in February with Icon versus Hardware, Static Season 2, or excuse me, Static Shadows of Dakota. I'm excited about that stuff. I'm still on board with X-Men Red. I still love X-Men Red and Immortal X-Men. So I'm excited about the Sins of Sinister event. And I'm excited in that Sinister is an X-Men villain. And so this should just be a straight up X-Men event. And a better one, I hope, than X of Swords. But yeah. Should we not have gotten a Donny Cates Thor omnibus before the Ven omnibus? No, because Donny Cates' Thor was still ongoing. Donny Cates was writing Thor up until like 2 months ago. So that's probably why. I'll only keep a 5-issue rotation in the pull list. Really want to start collecting more trades and graphic novels. I'm going to start by collecting Gotham Central. I probably should put a hard limit on my pull list. I have a budget number that I don't want to go past, but honestly, $50 is a lot of money for comics. Like if I limited it to like 30, then I'd have to make some tough decisions on like which books actually stay or go. With a budget of 50, I can justify almost anything from week to week because some weeks will be like 70 and some weeks will be like 20. So, yeah. But look, guys, I think we've recapped 2022. I talked about my favorite books or my favorite purchases in a video that went live on the channel today. I already made the announcement that I was going to make, but tomorrow's video is titled, what is it? My last video ever or something like that. So watch that video. It'll explain in a probably much more succinct way how I've come to the rebranding decision and what you can expect in the future. And then in January, we got new content and it'll be fun. I appreciate you guys being here. This is the last stream of 2022. We're still hanging out, man. I appreciate you guys rocking with the channel, whether, like I said, whether you've been down since day 1 2 years ago or whether today's your first day. I appreciate you all. You make comics a little bit more fun, or a lot more fun. You're doing a soft reboot with DC. It's true. So yeah, if I don't talk to you before the new year, I appreciate you very much. I'm still live in the K Squad. I'll be in the K Squad on Discord and or Facebook. So check it out. And that's going to do it for me. Also, this is going to be the last time, probably, it's going to be the last time that I sign off like this. So hope you saw something you liked in this video. And if not, that's cool. Because you can always buy what you like. Just make sure you read what you buy and be nice to others. Because kindness makes the world go round. Peace.